When it comes to veggies as side dishes, I often default to sauteing asparagus and zucchini because we love both of those around here, but also I love sauteed peppers and onions. They go with a lot of different things. Obviously fajitas is the first thing that would probably come to mind, but you can use them in other ways as well. So I'm going to show you how to saute these three things. It's a little bit different for each one, so pay attention to each method, but this is going to provide you with three easy ways to get a delicious veggie side dish for your dinner. So with asparagus, the first thing we need to do is snap off the ends, and then I'm going to lay them on this plate here and then drizzle a little olive oil over the top. There's a natural bend in this where you want to snap the end off. This is the not so great tasting part of the asparagus, so we're just going to snap the ends off. I usually just do it kind of in a bunch. They'll naturally all break where they should, even if they're not lined up perfectly. And then I'm gonna lay these spears on this dish, and I like to let the olive oil soak, and it's not marinating, but it kind of is. And then I'm gonna pour the olive oil and the asparagus into the skillet together. And then that way we end up with a nicely sauteed and oiled asparagus with extra depth of flavor from the olive oil soaking into that asparagus. Okay, so about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil just drizzled right on the top. It's gonna escape down to the bottom, but it's all gonna end up in the skillet together here after it sits for a little bit. Our asparagus friends have been soaking for a few minutes in the olive oil, and we are going to now transfer all of it together. I'm gonna turn the heat on in the skillet, get the skillet a little bit warm, and then I'm going to transfer it all together, scraping off all of the olive oil in with the asparagus, and then I'm going to let them saute for a minute or two before tossing for another minute or two. So the saute time is really going to vary on how crispy and crunchy you still want your asparagus to be. The shorter amount of time, a little crispier, longer, you'll get a much softer asparagus spear. So that's really up to you. I generally wait for the green color to brighten up a little bit and then let it go another 30 seconds to a minute. That's the consistency I prefer, but you can just play with it and get them how you like them. Sauteing zucchini can be a little tricky to do. It's actually one of the more common questions that I get about side dishes, is the best way to cook zucchini. I'm going to show you right now how to do just that. Zucchini really needs to be cooked in a single layer in a skillet, but that's a little bit time consuming, so I'm going to share a little time-saving hack as well. For the zucchini, we're going to lop off the tops and the bottoms. I got these 4 smaller zucchini for whatever reason at the store. They just had the smaller ones. I usually will do like 2, of the larger summer squash. And everything that I'm going to share applies for both yellow and green summer squash. And I'm going to cut them into, I would say, 1/3 of an inch circles. You definitely want to try to get a uniform cut as best you can, but really just trying to get that 1/3 of an inch, maybe a 1/2 inch for the zucchini. And I usually will just saute it all in the same skillet, just for the sake of speed and not having to do a couple of batches. Usually when I'm making side dishes like this, I'm also doing something else in the kitchen, so I need to be able to bounce around. We're gonna warm that oil up and then get it to coat all of the skillet. I am going to saute my zucchini without any seasoning at the beginning, and then I will add a little bit of seasoning. So we're going to transfer all of this in here. Again, green and yellow, same rules. And then you could even mix them together in the same skillet if you wanted to do that. So I'm going to make as many of them as I can to be in contact with the bottom surface. Of course, there's going to be a second layer, and we will toss this around, but I'm just going to make sure that I want that nice caramelization and kind of fry onto the sides of the zucchini. Now again, it's not going to be a full single layer because there's just too many slices. However, I'm going to get it as single as I can. getting the flat, fleshy part on the bottom of the skillet. Sometimes I even try and push them up the side of the skillet. And then we're gonna let those sit for just a minute, and then we'll start to toss as they golden and caramelize. So the thicker pieces of zucchini are gonna take a little bit longer. And one of the things I'm gonna do to speed up the cooking process is the steam saute. I'm just gonna swirl in about a 1/4 cup of water and let the steam accelerate the water, the hot water accelerate the cooking and get some of these pieces to soften up a little bit faster. It's also going to help create a little extra liquid. Zucchini doesn't release too much when it's cooking like an onion or a pepper would, and so this helps to create sort of that sauce that they will continue to saute in. So what we're looking for is the sort of translucent. This is not ready. This is ready. And so I'm going to flip this one so it can continue to cook on the other side. And as you see that they're ready, you can then start transferring them to your serving dish. My favorite topping or seasoning or addition to sauteed zucchini is a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Salt if you like it, but this Parmesan cheese is already a little salty. And then you have an easy, delicious side dish. Next up, peppers and onions. I am going to cut these into an even size so you get that even cook. That seems to be the theme of the veggies month, whether we're roasting, sauteing. And so with these, I'm gonna go for kind of that diced, what I would define as about 1 inch in size. So I'm gonna line up my knife notch to notch. As if you've seen any of my other bell pepper videos, you already know what I'm gonna do. You line it up notch to notch, and then you slice down that little section of the bell, if you will, and then you can cut around and end up cutting out the core as a whole with no pithy core seeds anywhere. And of course you can cut around the tops if you'd like, but for today's purposes I am going for that sort of 1 inch or so size, which is going to be about this big. So we're gonna go with that because it's easy to cut an onion that way as well. And onions and bell peppers cook really nicely together, and they cook evenly together, about the same speed. They both sweat about the same, and so I think that's, of course, the flavors complement each other so well, which is why they often get cooked together. Peppers and onions can just be a side dish. They could also be sliced. If I was going to use these for fajitas, I would be slicing as opposed to cutting into these chunks. They could also just be, you know, this would be something I would serve with like chicken and rice because it's just going to be a really nice complement. I might just have that for a snack. It's not quite the right size or shape. I think just some sauteed peppers over rice with some chicken or steak or pork chop even would be really fantastic. Also really different flavors between the green, the orange, the red, and the yellow. The orange and red tend to be a little sweeter, and the green's not bitter. It just tastes like a green pepper. It's not, I don't know what the word is. It's definitely not sweet. Not bitter. Bitter's not right. The orange is a little sweeter as well. Sauteing peppers and onions, butter or olive oil, it would be my first two choices. Butter if you want a little creaminess to the, eventually the sauce that'll kind of coat everything, that the juices from the onion and the bell pepper will release as it's cooking. And then I'm gonna peel this out. If you ever end up with this, you just peel it. It really loosens that white pithy part. It loosens really quickly. And then I can just kind of cut it and break it up there. I'm going to start the oil in the skillet and then start the peppers sauteing while I do the onion, just because I don't have space. Just a tablespoon or two of olive oil, enough to coat the bottom of the pan. All right, you can hear those peppers sizzling, and I'm gonna cut this onion into those same inch-ish diced pieces. And I'm gonna try not to cry. So doing it this way, kind of like the half moons in the other video, I'm just gonna cut down the middle, and then obviously the pieces in the middle will be smaller, but this is about the size that I want for the onion pieces. similar to the red bell pepper pieces. So I'm gonna get these added in here as well and tossed all together and let these saute together in the skillet. Here they are, our 3 fabulous veggie side dishes. We have our asparagus that we did a little pre-soak, almost like a marinade with that olive oil. We have our zucchini where we started to saute them in olive oil and then add a little water and did a steam saute to help them cook through and get to that translucent color. And of course that little extra caramelization topped off with a little dusting of Parmesan cheese. Super fabulous option there. And finally, our bell peppers and onions that we can serve as a side dish or use with a stir fry or fajitas or a Tex-Mex meal or something like that. 3 really easy ways to do veggie side dishes right here, my friend. If you learned something new, please like this video. That helps YouTube know that you liked it and you want to see more of it, and others might learn from it as well. Also, please subscribe to the channel as we release new episodes in the Learn to Cook on a Budget series every Wednesday at noon Central Time. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.